What's up? Welcome to Sports Speaks on YouTube, calling it like we see it and keeping it real. I'm Sravan alongside my guys, Eric, RJ, and Tyler. Gentlemen, what a busy week we've had in the sports world.
Yes, sir.
And there's only one place to start. So let's get to it. Earlier this week, an article dropped from the Washington Post detailing allegations of sexual assault claimed by 15 women who have worked in the now previous Washington Redskins organization. The article highlights allegations of both sexual assault and harassment, in addition to other workplace members, including one of their former directors of operations, Dennis Green, being asked to do cartwheels. As it was known that he was a male cheater in college, these allegations are directed toward owner Daniel Snyder and former president Bruce Allen. 3 members of the staff have currently been fired or have resigned abruptly, including Larry Michael, Alex Santos, and Richard Mann II. Snyder did release a statement to ESPN's Adam Schefter that was announced earlier today on both First Take and Get Up. So, guys, we have seen this time and time again. Women in sports being harassed. This is not the first time we've seen it. We've seen it countless times. And frankly, it really is boiling mad. Now, obviously, it should be noted to everybody that this was a tease trailer that was brought up as people said the bad news was coming in there. Our colleagues Justin Ramos and Zach Nasig have been texting us this information. They're not with us tonight. They're currently going for more information with what's going on. And RJ, you got first dibs on this.
Well, the Redskins. It just keeps getting worse by the day. First, people just wanted the name to be changed, and then we kept hearing that, there's something going on with the organization. The announcer, I forget his name, Larry something.
Larry Michael.
Larry Michael. He's gone. He's dipping. He's jumping ship, going somewhere else. He's like, I'm about to get up out of here. And now we hear this, and we hear Jay Gruden. I think today DJ Swearinger came out and dropped a text saying that he texted him about in like the middle of the night, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he texted him about playing football in the middle of the night or some weird shit or whatever it was. And then he's having is Jay Gruden married, Sravan? Is he married?
Not that we know of, but
all right.
From what we've heard though, with both Swearinger and Bibbs, it seems that he was in a relationship with someone that Bibbs was also in. And of course we got that text that correlated to the injury that correlated with Alex Smith. So there's too many levels there. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's dating. He's not dating, but never mind. He's just with this girl. And then I remember last season, the Patriots were playing the Redskins. I believe it was the day before the game. He was out at a club, and he's sitting on the sidewalk, smoking a cigarette like, oh, well, I have to play the Patriots tomorrow. We're going to get our asses kicked anyway. I'm going to just party. And it's just like, something was off, with that whole team and that whole franchise. And now it's coming into fruition, like with the 15 women. It's like, who knows? My first thought was, who knows? Maybe this happens with other organizations, who knows, like next week, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, somebody else might come out and say they're being harassed by a general manager or owner or something like that.
Tyler, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think the whole thing is just horrible. I think they just want to rename the team and move on. But I know I talked to you guys today when I heard that they might get fined for the whole situation. I think that's just silly. I think I don't know if the NFL needs like a guideline as to what dictates a fine or a suspension, but I don't quite understand how take the Patriots for example, and their video crew, and here the team had nothing to do with it, and what do they lose, a 3rd round draft pick, and I think it was like $1 million. It's like,
$1 million fine, a loss of a 3rd round pick, and not being able to videotape for their TV or whatever. But they still can from what we know, they can still do the locker room stuff that they normally do. That's not that was not affected in, like you were saying, circumstantial evidence at best.
Yeah, it's just, and then you have something that is obviously there's plenty of evidence, and it's just, yeah, they might get fined. We'll see what happens. It's like, all right, that's really great. I like the bias. So it's just the whole thing's horrible, you know. I mean, it's just sad.
We'll definitely get into that bias thing after Eric speaks, but you have a point there with that bias stuff. And before I elaborate on that, I'm gonna let Eric go with this one, because I remember, Eric, you and I were talking about when this thing was gonna drop, and I said this wasn't easy. When Justin and Zach were sending us this information, it was hard to process because living here in the DMV area, there's a whole lot of Washington sports fans. Let me tell you, whether they are good or not, this is a very big sports town, particularly the football here, from the high school to the college and pros. So I'm just saying it did rock a lot of people. But Eric, go ahead.
What surprised me about the whole situation was not that there was some misconduct going on, but the extent of it. It was like, is it really a shock to any of us that the worst team in the league had some misconduct issues in the front office, maybe a little bit of incompetence there? No, of course not. But I was shocked to hear like the extent of the victimization and the harassment and all that going on. I mean, you can make an argument that I mean, no, they were sex trafficking. They were sex trafficking their cheerleaders. They were harassing their female employees. It's just a terrible situation. So I feel bad. First and foremost, I feel bad for the victims, the female employees, the cheerleaders, everybody who was victimized by that front office. But second of all, I feel bad for the players. You know, they may not be the best team in the league, but regardless, they go out and they give 100% every practice, every game, and they work hard. And for them to find out that the people writing their checks aren't bringing the same effort to the table, that's gotta suck. And then I also feel bad for the fans because they've really been going through it, Redskins fans, recently. And to have this dumped on top of them, I honestly feel bad for them. Nobody should be attacking Redskins fans. The only people that should be verbally attacked over this are the people who actually committed those terrible crimes. So I hope it all gets investigated. I hope everything comes to light. I hope reparations are made. And I hope we can just get back to playing football and also create a culture where, you know, females feel safe in the front office, on the sideline, no matter where it is in sports. And also, if I could just add one more thing, I also think that some good can come out of this Redskins situation, because if you think the Redskins are the only team that has some hyper-masculine problems in the front office, I think you're lying to yourself. I think there are other organizations, I'm not going to name any names because I don't know, but I think there are other organizations in football, in baseball, basketball, whatever sport you want to choose. I think there's going to be like a separate like Me Too movement within sports.
No question. And quite frankly, we have the article in front of us for all of you guys watching. By the way, please subscribe down below and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. But all of us have the article in front of us. And the more and more we read into it, the more gruesome it becomes. But my question to you guys is this. Feel free to answer it or pass if you want. But Eric, you made a comment that this could be potentially happening in other organizations. My question is, when is this going to end for females? There are some females who have dreamed their entire lives to get into this business, and they are currently being subjected to harassment. Like, very rare in this society do you see a man getting harassed, and that's what angers me. Why do women have to be harassed? What do you get out of harassing a woman? That's what I want to know.
You're asking when it will end. I honestly don't know, because this culture has been formed over many, many years. And, you know, there's also something about, you know, the people who excel in sports and in ownership and just the sports field in general, they tend to have this hyper masculine kind of overpowering drive that also can manifest itself in some positive ways. Like going out and getting that great player, going out and tackling that QB. There's a plus side to this kind of masculine culture that exists surrounding sports, but it can also manifest itself in some negative ways, like situations like this. So I think it's about just having more respect and having more professional courtesy towards one another, no matter what gender you are, no matter what race you are. Just, I think once we can put those things to the side and kind of just see everybody as someone who's trying to make it, I hope we can get to the end of this. But like you're saying, when will it end? I don't know, because it's been happening since the beginning of time. So I don't have an answer for you there.
Understood. And Tyler, you made a point about bias and how the NFL's punishment policy has been, shall we say, reactionary at best. I'm sure you all remember the Josh Brown saga, the Giants kicker, with what he has done. He explicitly told, for those of you who do not know, Giants kicker Josh Brown was involved in a situation where he beat his wife and admitted it. Okay. He tells the owner, John Mara, of the New York Football Giants. And there was even an incident from the Seattle Police Department where at the Pro Bowl that year, they moved his wife and kids to a different hotel room to avoid this issue. Okay. Now, in terms of punishment, the dude only got 1 game, and Ray Rice, with his incident that was caught on camera, got 2. Forget the football. Ray Rice 2, Josh Brown 1. Why? Second, when the GOAT was indicted in the quote-unquote Deflategate scandal, not a lot of evidence, contrary at best, yet you took him to the federal courts and dragged it all through for 4 games. This one, there's legitimate evidence published in multiple news sources across the globe, but not just the Post, in other states as well. This is being talked about constantly. And come to find out, we're finding out that a potential fine at best. Why is it that you keep talking tough? See, when the darkest time in the NFL, when the Greg Hardy situation, all that stuff, when that broke out, Commissioner Goodell issued his get tough stance. It turns out right now, that thing was flushed down the toilet pretty fast because every single punishment seems to be reactionary. And I don't get it. So
and the other thing,
you guys fill me on this. Tyler, go ahead. Like, this is frustrating.
No, I saw, I guess it was yesterday, I think they're going to let Dan Snyder use his own lawyers for the situation when in both the Deflategate and Bountygate scandal, the Patriots were not allowed, or the Patriots and Saints were not allowed. They had to use the NFL-issued lawyer team or whatever. So they're just trying to move on. They're just trying to push this out the door.
They're trying to brush it under the rug. Sweep it under the rug, yep.
And RJ, I want you to get into this after Tyler. I know you're making a point. Go ahead. But after RJ, you got to give your thoughts.
My bad. I'm sorry, Tyler. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, but also I think it kind of maybe has to do with relevancy. The Patriots and Saints are both very relevant franchises. And so, a lot of popularity. It gets people talking. You've heard the any press is good press type deal. So I think that the Redskins are, although in a large market, they're, a bottom 4 team in the league. So I'm guessing that it's not a top priority for the NFL, which is unfortunate. It's ridiculous, but what are you going to do,
RJ, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Tyler hit it on the nail. That's what they want to do. If this was the Patriots, say what you will. You can hate the Patriots. You can like them. It doesn't matter. This is just honest. This is facts, 100% facts. If this was the Patriots, this would be a scandal on it would be ESPN, Fox Sports, every news outlet in America will be talking about
the narrative.
Just like I couldn't believe when Deflategate happened, MSNBC and CNN are talking about it. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like, you're a political, like, what? And, like, if this is the Patriots, it'll be so much different. this guy would have been suspended. This guy's fired. Robert Kraft would have been out the door. He would have been forced to sell the team. I already know how it would have happened.
Adding to that point, certainly the Patriots' name would have come up, but like Tyler said, Boston, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, the big markets. Then you got Washington, D.C. This is a town that the media is pretty big considering what works in the nation's capital. And I'm not going to go any further than that, but you guys know where I'm getting at here. And if they can focus on that particular thing so much, how come this is not getting national attention considering the evidence that is out there? It's black and white and in print. You have the word. And also, who lets your own people from within the team talk? What they did to get the national lawyers in the NFL, why couldn't you do that with this Redskin thing? Is it that hard to do the right thing?
Evidently.
Well, I don't feel like we can judge them based off of the Redskin situation yet, just because the story just came out this week. And I think the NFL is doing what they should do, is investigating first and then discussing what punishments they're going to make. So, like, I'm not going to jump all over Roger Goodell, although I'd love to, because I think he's a dumbass. But, I think it's good that, they're figuring things out first and then talking about what punishment they're going to hand out. Because they can't talk about punishment like 24 hours after a story comes out.
That's fair. That's fair.
Stories about
That's fair.
I think we can call them out off of situations that we know, like the Ray Rice situation, like, Josh Brown case, like, 50 others where they have completely dropped the ball. I don't think that the NFL really has a bias against, like, notable franchises like the Patriots and the Saints and all that. I just think they're incompetent. I think it's hard to control that many people that are in the public eye. And no matter what you do, people are going to have a problem with it. But we can sit here and we can say that they have been objectively wrong on so many cases. So when that's the case, I just think you got to get the commissioner out and put somebody in who's a little more competent.
I also think it wouldn't be that hard to actually have like a guideline. Like if it's marijuana, it's 4 games. If it's performance enhancing drugs, it's 4 games. If it's a situation like this, it's the whole season. Something, I mean, you can have like a variation, like 10 to 16 games. Like obviously it's going to vary, situation to situation, but I don't think it would be hard at all actually. So if I hear that my favorite player, I don't know, did drugs or whatever, I can know, all right, he's going to get 4 games. Now I don't have to guess and wonder, is he going to be out the whole season? Like, I don't think it's that hard to figure it out. So I don't know.
A lot of it is from the player's side too, and I'm not blaming them at all, but like a lot of times the player will get a suspension and they think, okay, like you said, drug violation, that's 4, that's 3, whatever. And then the player meets with their lawyer and their agent, and they come to the league and they appeal and they find loopholes and all that. And then they're like, okay, we'll knock it down to 2, or we'll knock it down to 3, or whatever. So I think there's a systematic thing going there too, where sometimes it's the league's fault in making the punishment too harsh, and then sometimes the player's fault, making it too little by using all their legal wizardry,
Yeah.
Well, let me just say this. Think about it in this regard. I'm a graduate student right now at Boston University. Tyler and Eric are about to graduate college. If I'm not mistaken, you guys are in your senior year. Justin's entering his junior year. Zach's about to finish high school. And RJ, you just graduated from high school, correct? We're able to come up with a solution just speaking through virtual talk. Yet a multi-billion-dollar organization can't think. Like, think about this. You guys remember the Urban Meyer situation at Ohio State?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy
Which
who we
one?
sometimes like to call out a lot, Shannon Sharp, the one thing he said about that day afterward was spot on. They've got all this information. They said, quote, we got to find a reason to keep Urban Meyer. At the time, 47-3 in Big Ten play, a national championship. No doubt, had that man been a mediocre coach, out. And granted, when Ohio State played Purdue that night with the blackout game, there was no doubt that the situation involving the domestic assault, that was on the Purdue players' minds. I know someone who went to Purdue, and they said they'd heard that story and they wanted to beat Ohio State for it. Not just because of that incident, even though they obviously want to win that game, but that was on their mind. And, of course, that Tyler Trent, that young man, God rest his soul, was in attendance. It was just a very special night. But we all knew upset week they were talking all about that situation with Urban Meyer. When is he finally going to get his quote-unquote comeuppance? And I think that night was a big one. But that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is reactionary punishment has been going on in professional sports leagues. And before we go more to the next topic, RJ, I'll leave you with any last thoughts on this issue.
I don't really have any last thoughts. I mean, I've kind of talked about it enough. I just wanted to get my other thoughts out there on the issue. If there are other organizations that are doing this, which I do believe, not just in the NFL, I believe that it's happening in basketball. It could be happening in basketball, baseball, women need to come forward, and who knows, we might have another issue next, like, it could be today, tomorrow, somebody could say something.
Indeed. We're going to leave that at that, and we'll keep you all updated. For those of you who are watching, we'll keep you guys updated with our stuff. Follow our Twitter, follow our Instagram, and mostly our Twitters. We'll get the information on Instagram. Will just be links to our stories on our sites. Next up, Dak Prescott has turned down a long-term deal from the Cowboys, the former Mississippi State fourth-round pick, has rejected the latest offer before the franchise tag deadline, which would have made him over $100 million in guaranteed money. Deadline deals included Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs, Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns, and just barely Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans, a team we know really well. So, with the Dak Prescott scenario, I'm going to turn it over to a guy who I think should be a quarterback in some sports league, and that's Eric. You have the floor, my friend.
I don't know who to blame in this situation right now with the Cowboys and Dak. Like, honestly, I don't know what Dak expects. I don't know what he thinks is a fair contract. But for somebody who only has one playoff win in his 4 years,
Thank you.
Yep. One
playoff win, and went 8-8 last year.
Mm-hmm. Typical
Over $100 million. Dude, I would take that in a heartbeat. I don't know who he's listening to. I don't know who his agent is. I don't know how many more feet he wants on his yacht. I don't care. That sounds like a fair deal to me for how well he's performed, plus the amount of success he's been able to lead his team to. That seems like a fair deal. I don't know why they can't get this done. I really don't.
I'll tell you why. He ain't Tony Romo. Let's
I'm just gonna phrase it this way. This man wants $5 million less than Patrick Mahomes got, and it's like what? Like, I don't understand. Like, that they're gonna have to pay him like $40 million. That's the sad thing, and they're gonna do it because of the Cowboys and because they don't want to take the risk. I know you guys are a bit more critical of him. I think he's a pretty alright quarterback, but he's not a $40 million quarterback. He's in today's league, he's a $32 million, $30 million quarterback.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think Dak is a bad quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. I'm just saying, when it comes down to contract time, I mean, what you got to look at is, like, a quarterback's job is to help – anybody's job is to help your team win football games. Mm-hmm. That's their job. And especially as a quarterback, like, that's what you have to be thinking of. Like, look at Brady. He doesn't always have the best stats, but he always gets it done. He always turns it on when he has to, and he wins games. And he's taken pay cuts for years over that. But I think your job is to win games. You haven't been doing that a lot recently, and you've had one of the best running backs in the league and one of the best O-lines in the league, and you still haven't been able to crack the playoffs, really. So I don't know. I think he's good, but I just don't think he's worth what he's asking,
I'll say this. I think their offense this year is going to be like top 3 offense, and if they can at least get one playoff win and win the division, then I don't know what to tell you, because that offense is just the defense isn't that great, but the offense is amazing. So I don't know how, we'll see what happens. This guy, I don't understand. You can't just come to a contract. Like, dude, you're 4 years into the league. Take your $35 million a year contract.
Maybe he wants to try out free agency at the end of the season.
He don't know
He
what
would
he's
overpay
gonna
at
do.
this point.
Maybe he wants to go somewhere else. I mean, that's the
Maybe.
thing. It's so hard
I don't
speculating on this, and it's so hard judging the situation when we're not in those negotiation rooms. Like,
I also don't
I
understand
think
how you don't.
this year with a healthy Eagles team, it's going to be tough to win the division, but that's really the only other team they have to worry about. But it is going to be a tough team.
Yeah.
The NFC East is going to be a fun race to watch between the Cowboys and the Eagles.
I just don't understand. The report was that they didn't get it in time. You had the whole day, bro. Just put it in. I don't understand. Like, they just barely missed the deadline. Like, it was like the time when a couple years ago when the Browns, they agreed to trade for A.J. McCarron, and then they celebrated, so they missed the NFL trade deadline. They didn't get called in. It's like the same thing. Like, they were like, I guess they were hyped for 5 minutes, and they looked at their watch, and it was like a minute over. And they couldn't, the trade deadline passed. So it's like, what are you doing? I don't understand this guy. Like, I don't understand. I don't know.
Archie, we didn't get your thoughts here. We're almost running out of time here for our fans, so let's just get your thoughts in on
This
this.
boy about to go off real quick.
All right, let me start off.
Buckle up, guys. Get your popcorn ready.
Let me start off by saying this. When it comes to the Cowboys, I'm like Stephen A. Smith. Okay, I give them a lot of criticism. I have been giving Dak a lot of criticism, and let me say this: I think he's a good quarterback. And I think he has potential to be great in this league. But what the hell are you doing? You're trying to. You think that you won one playoff game. One playoff game.
Channel your inner Stephen A. Smith. I wanna see this.
That's my job. That's my job.
One playoff game. One playoff game. Wild card game too. He got beat by Jared Goff. Listen, I do think he should be paid more than Jared Goff. I think he's a better quarterback than Jared Goff. But he lost to Jared Goff in the playoffs. Let's be clear about this. I'm so confused on what he wants, because the Cowboys have done a great job of keeping the contract talks like quiet, because we really don't know what he wants. And there's been reports saying he wants to be paid higher than Mahomes now that he got his contract. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, well, whatever. And they offered him what, 100 mil guaranteed and 40 mil over 4 years, I believe.
Around that time frame and money wise, yes.
Why did you take that? Now, first of all, now that he put a bigger chip, not a chip, but he put a bigger I'm trying to use a phrase, whatever, boundary target on his back, because not only does he have to play for the contract, you have to play for Jerry Jones' approval. Every Cowboy player has to, because Jerry runs the team, and that's the Cowboy, and that's the Cowboy way. So you're going to have to beat a talented Eagles team, and that's going to be very hard, because the Eagles, like it or not, they ain't going nowhere. Carson Wentz, Doug Peterson, and the gang, they're not going anywhere. So I don't know what the hell he's thinking. Oh no, what's his brother's name? Dak Prescott. Shut up, okay? Just shut up, okay? First of all, I get that he's your brother, but please be quiet. You don't know how the contracts work, okay? I am so sick of he's like, oh, I'm not gonna root for him, and I'm not gonna root for the Cowboys because we didn't get a deal done. He won the playoff game, man. Get the hell out of here. Come on, man.
Okay, the interesting thing to me.
Sorry, I just had to let that out, man.
There's only one thing I take issue with there, and that's you said that the Eagles, Carson Wentz, Doug Peterson, they're not going anywhere.
They're not.
I don't know about that.
Well, they are going somewhere.
I think Dak is better than Wentz.
I'm saying in the division, they're not going anywhere. Like, I'm saying, like, they're gonna compete. Like, they give the Cowboys, like, struggle. Like, That's one of the
That's
best
fair.
rivalries in the game. That's what I meant to say.
That's
Like
fair,
I'm not.
but they have to be healthy in order to do that. And
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, so walking broken bone. Just they've dealt with a lot of injuries this year. If they can stay healthy, who knows? But I mean, even when healthy, I would take Dak over a healthy Wentz, to be
Same.
honest.
Oh yeah, for me.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like, when it comes to that, we can discuss that on a different day. I just let the Cowboys, the Eagles fans debate the Wentz and Dak debate because you can pick either one. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I just let them handle it. I mean, I think if I was building a team, I would pick Dak because I can put a team around him. Now, who I think is better? I think Wentz is a better overall quarterback, but I think that if I'm building a team, I can build a team around Dak better. That's for me.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see this year now that they have McCarthy. And, like, if Dak doesn't do well or, like, he gets injured or something, like, he's going to lose, like, $20 million that he could have got if he just had taken the whatever they offered him, 35 a year.
Around that time and money. Yes.
That's second in the league. Like, I understand, like, Mahomes just got 47 a year, and we'll discuss that at a different time. But I think, like, that's 35 is right where there's Goff, Wilson, Roethlisberger, and someone else. And I mean, that's
I
right
know
up
who's
there.
Dak's agent, man. I just don't understand this.
I don't
Like,
know. It
I'm
must be his
really
brother.
confused. I've never seen a guy who's won one playoff game, like, just say that he wants this amount of money. Like, who is his agent? Like, who is
I don't
telling
know.
him this stuff?
But low key though, it's smart because they're gonna pay him. I know.
Oh yeah,
they're
they'll
gonna pay him.
eventually pay him.
The one thing I like is that this season Dak's going to have to prove himself. And you know what? I
Mhm.
like watching a quarterback who has something to prove.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
We all know that story very well.
TV. Yeah.
We've all known that story. 2016.
Yeah.
Most of us won some bucks from that magical night in Houston.
The greatest single season of a team I've ever seen in the National Football League.
Yeah, me too. I think
I've
so
never
too.
seen a team like that ever.
Me either. I think that's the best Patriots team.
We could have gone 16-0 if we had Brady, because
I think, honestly,
we wouldn't have lost the Bills game,
fans,
and
well,
then that
they were
Seahawks
motivated.
game was a toss-up. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Seahawks game could have gone either way, but that team was amazing. Good memories.
And we're all running out of time here for our fans, but just a reminder, you can check us out on Twitter and Instagram. As usual, when we get together, you saw what it was like. We may be sitting via Zoom, but we're basically at a round table, and we're debating this thing. Although we
NFL
don't get paid
Roundtable?
for it,
Sir,
though we don't get paid for it,
Not yet.
not yet. Yes,
Not
keyword.
yet.
We're giving you the news as we get it. So for all of us here at Sports Feast, please stay safe during this COVID pandemic. For Justin and for Zach, I'm Sravan. For Eric, Tyler, and RJ, we're saying good night. Please stay safe, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.
Peace.
take care.
Peace.